Ally Bank locked me out, won't verify me, and is holding my money hostage. Help.
Now, before we dive in, just a quick reminder. This video is for informational and entertainment purposes only, and should not be considered financial advice. Our full disclaimer is shown here and on our website. Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Finance with Anthony. Today we're going to be discussing two main topics. The first piece is going to be talking about unique situations that you have when you go to the bank, such as, when you deposit your money, for example, or other bank related items that you should be on the lookout for. The second item is going to more focus on unique investment opportunities, such as options, buybacks, all of these kinds of fun items that could lead you to some big bucks down the road, especially for retirement. So let's dive right into some scenarios today on the personal finance Reddit. Bank ate my mother's card and cash. Bank claims neither happened. All right, let's see what's going on here. Last week, my mother tried depositing $500 at my local bank. She got an error after dropping off the cash, and it refused to return her debit card too, saying there was a security error. The machine couldn't let her do anything else, and she waited several minutes to see what would happen. We know there are instances where the cash will be returned after a couple of seconds. I believe this was after the bank was closed. She went in first thing the next day and talked to the bank manager. She assured her this was not an issue and issued her a new debit card. She didn't help with the cash though and said it will return the day to her account. After several days, nothing happened. And after talking to customer service multiple times, a supervisor issued her a temp credit, but today we got a letter saying they were taking the credit back because the ATM was not showing a difference in balance. It also made no mention of her card being eaten. There are no malicious charges on her account from the old card between the night when she made the charge and the next morning when she got a new one. What do we do now? We are planning on filing a complaint with CFPB, but I heard they were gutted. Wow, so this is actually a very unique scenario overall, I would say. So the first thing is, most bank ATMs actually have a camera not just in front of the ATM, but also usually the branch itself has a camera that you can actually reference as well. So I would say in most cases, you should definitely ask the bank branch to not just look at the footage of the ATM, but also look at the actual bank footage so they can actually see, your mom going in and actually, putting in her debit card as well as the cash. These are two crucial items that you're going to need to actually file a complaint, either like a report, as you mentioned, to the appropriate agencies, or just for the bank to actually try to give you your cash back. Now, that I know this is not a good position to be in, but most banks, if possible, will do their best attempt to actually return the funds back to you, if possible. Especially if it's a bank that, is very trustworthy and will want to work for their customers. Now, overall, if you do a long-term investigation and they still don't give you back the funds, then it may be time for you actually to consider going to another bank branch and just closing out the account and just getting out of there. Because a bank that doesn't treat their customers right is not a bank you want to associate yourself with. So, let's move on to the next one. Ally Bank locked me out, won't verify me, and is holding my money hostage. Help. I need serious help. Ally Bank froze my account and I have been unable to access my own money for a week. Every time I call, they refuse to verify me, even though I've offered any and all information they need. They keep saying there's an investigation, but they won't tell me why, how long it will take, or what I would need to do to get verified. I have asked for supervisors, called multiple times, and I've been hung up on or given vague responses. This is my money, and I can't even transfer it out or close the account. Ally has no physical location, so I can't go in and demand action. I feel like they're stealing my money and hiding behind bureaucracy. What I've tried. Calling customer service repeatedly, they won't help. Asked for a supervisor, they refuse to give me a real answer. Offered to verify with any documents they need, they refuse to verify me. Contact Ally's executive office, no luck yet. Ready to file a complaint with CFPB and OCC, but I need help to make sure this gets resolved fast. What can I do? Has anyone been through this with Ally or another bank? Is there any way to force them to verify me and release my money? Should I file a CFPB complaint ASAP, or is there another way to get someone at Ally to actually act? Any legal options I should consider if they keep delaying? I just want my money back and to be done with this bank forever. Any advice would be greatly appreciated. So, this is actually a very, very tricky situation. There's a lot of people out there who, for example, have like PayPal accounts, or as he mentioned, like Ally accounts, which are only located online. So there are a few limited things you can do, which is, as he mentioned, like you can file, the appropriate complaints to the right authorities, of course. The second thing is, even if you try to claim your money back, once the bank says, "Hey, we froze your account because there's something going on," in most cases, they actually have the right to actually keep the money until the investigation is performed. However, if you feel you've been wrongfully, your money has been wrongfully stolen, then that is, you can file a complaint and also seek out legal advice as well. There's a lot of people out there who probably have been in this same situation, especially with all the things that are going on nowadays, where there are banks who are constantly freezing accounts, taking people's money, and sometimes the money's just not there in most cases because the bank maybe has already loaned out most of their money at one point, the way banks work is that they take your money, they loan it out, and they do fractional banking, which basically just means that they usually don't have all the money in their accounts. So it makes it even more difficult for you to take your money back, even if it's FDIC insured. So it's important to do the most you can and make sure you file reports, keep a paper trail, seek legal advice, especially if you have a big balance in this bank, and try to make the most out of just trying to get your money out of there and just never working with that bank again. So let's move on to the next one.
Just received an offer from my old company to buy back the stock shares I left with. It's not a very large amount of money at all, and I'm not sure what they are offering to buy them now. Should I hold in case they are acquired?
So this is actually a very, very, I would say uncommon, funny enough. Not a lot of companies out there actually go out there and, they buy back their shares, unless they're like larger companies in most cases. So if the company is looking to buy back your shares, it's because A, they're either getting maybe acquired by someone else and they need excess shares, potentially, for the new owners. 2, maybe they're actually going to IPO, which means they're going to go public and they're actually going to be issuing even more shares to the public. So they need some shares actually to issue to the public. And then the third thing is, maybe they're not even, maybe they just want to actually have these shares for maybe new employees that are going to be coming into the company, more active employees. So essentially, all of these things, what does this all mean? What this means is that if your shares are in demand, that means they may be able to lowball you into like giving you less than what they're worth. So if right now, if your shares are worth $20, maybe to the company it's actually worth $30 or $40 because of the amount of the activity that might be up and coming. So I would say definitely negotiate with them, say like, hey, if you want my shares, I won't be letting them go without it, except for a premium. That's the first option you have. The second thing is you can actually hold on to your shares unless there's an agreement within your employment agreement, which will tell you otherwise. But if you have the ability to hold on to the shares and you feel like any of these events might be occurring, your shares may actually go to 2x or 3x the value. So you'll be making a pretty decent penny. So even if you only have 10 grand of shares, these shares might actually be worth 20 or 30 grand. Now, if you're risk averse and feel like you don't want to wait for this event to happen, then try to negotiate the most you can out of your company so for them to buy back your shares for the safe and easy return. So hopefully this helps. And yeah, let's move on to the next one.
Hello everyone, my name is Anthony and I'm the host of TheLostSanctuary. I hope you've been enjoying our content so far, and if you have, please feel free to like and subscribe. Also, we have our website up here, and we also have some socials down here, and as always, leave your comments down below.
I messed up by not having a large enough emergency fund. Hey all, TLDR, I got laid off mid-Jan. I'm going through my emergency fund. I have about a 1.5 months left of runway. I don't know if I'll find employment by then. The interview process has been pretty long and things are just taking a lot longer than I thought. I said that this is not an ideal situation, but I don't have much choice between my mortgage, COBRA/health insurance, and the turbulence of the industry. I'm in game industry and tech. Lots of layoffs. I may need to pull from my retirement account. I don't want to do this, but I may need to. I have about equal amounts in a Roth IRA and rollover IRA. Which would it be better to pull from? I am already collecting unemployment, but that's just enough to cover my mortgage, interest, not taxes, nor the HOA. I should have had an emergency fund that lasts 6 to 12 months, not 4 to 5 months.
There's a big economic slowdown. There's lots of turbulence in 2025. So I apologize. I deeply feel for what's going on with you, and I would say the first component is expect that just to be transparent with you, the job market right now is sometimes taking 6 to 12 months on average to actually for people to actually find the job, especially that is more specialized in niche industries. Sometimes it could even take 18 to 24 months. Just the way things are, it's a really rough job market, which I know no one wants to hear, but it is what it is. So the first thing I would say is that tap into your emergency fund. That's the first source of income that you can get. And then the second thing is, don't be afraid to actually, like, in the meantime while you're trying to get employed, do some odd jobs. I know it's not the most glamorous, but working in industries that are in demand, at least at right now, at least for the time being, such as working in restaurants, working as a server, bartenders, hotels, like all these items that if you can work in one of these in the meantime, at least to minimize the impact of the amount you take out of your retirement funds, then yeah, I would say just do that. So now, once you actually exhaust your emergency fund, which of the accounts should you take out of? I would recommend, if depending on which Roth IRA you have, look at the investments that are in those two funds and then figure out which one is giving you the highest return on investment, or ROI, year over year. And then the one that's giving you the least amount of ROI, that's the one I would recommend pulling out from, because that would actually minimize your opportunity cost of not having the funds invested anymore. That's how you should always analyze this. Which one is the one that's actually going to, net me the most money? Because if you need to, basically if you exhaust one, at least the other one can continue to grow if you need to also tap into that one. I know this isn't the best position to be in overall, but it is, it is hopefully, something, at least you have something to actually fall back on if you need to. So hopefully this helps, but continue the job search, and I'm wishing you all the best.
CPA wants me to meet with his financial advisor. I had to hire a CPA to look at my taxes for previous years. He found some mistakes and will amend our taxes for 3 years. He asked questions about my financial situation. He sees that my wife and my income is close to $200,000. He wants to meet with his financial advisor and has mentioned it a few times when I spoke to him about our tax issue. He owns a consulting company and has a FA on staff. We have a Vanguard funds and we are happy with them. We have been with them for years. If I feel I need a financial advisor, I would go with someone from Vanguard. I tell him all this, but he gets pushy with wanting me to see his FA. I like doing my own investments and doing research. He's very pushy and I think wants me to invest my refund with him. I'm grateful he was able to find the mistakes, but I hired him to look at my taxes. I'm not sure how ethical this is. I only went with an FA 30 years ago at the savings bank, and it was a disaster. I will tell him to F off if this continues. I would welcome any comment about this situation.
So this is a very tricky thing. So sometimes as CPAs we do have our hand in a lot of things. So we work with financial consultants, we'll work with investment brokers, we'll work with a lot of different people. And the thing about it is, there's such a thing as like referrals. As you get referrals, you get more money into your business. And sometimes there's even related parties in these transactions. So sometimes the CPAs will be working with other FAs as like maybe partners, and then essentially they'll get a kickback from not just a referral fee, but maybe even like a pretty big kickback, like a 5 or 10% of whatever your account is producing for them. So I would say overall, the fact that he's being very pushy just shows that it might not be something that's like, I would say that's a red flag in my case. Like, he can say like, if he's really pushing it, he must have some vested interest in this FA. So I would say definitely do your research. You can, it doesn't hurt to like just meet the FA if you want. You could just, you can meet them and just see what they're about, see, how they work, their fees, all that fun stuff. In most cases though, FAs do charge a hefty fee, and the more money they manage, the more they're going to charge. That's why they love clients with big balances. And usually in most cases, they won't charge a fixed fee. In most cases, it's going to be like a percentage of whatever money they're managing. So overall, I understand your sentiment where you want to just manage things on your own. And of course, that also minimizes the amount of fees you're going to be paying. So just make sure, at least for the tax portion, you let a tax professional do this so you don't run into the same issue. But in terms of investments, if you've been doing well with your investments, keep doing what you're doing. And just make sure that if you do, decide to go with an FA at one point, just compare them. compare them together in terms of fees, the amount of, customer testimonies that they've had, and just making sure that you're going with the right one. So let's move on to the next one. I've done everything I've been taught. What now? A little background on myself. I am 17 years old, and in my last year of high school, I go to a technical high school and study aircraft maintenance. And I grew up in an average middle-class family. Currently, I throw around $300 to $500 a month into an HYSA, which is a high-yield savings account, to earn some extra cash. And they'll spend money on anything besides gas, insurance, and any other necessities. I save around $25,000 per year, and I'm putting a large portion aside for a down payment on a house. Pretty good. Once I graduate, I receive a $5 an hour pay rise and will go full-time. Soon after, I receive an additional $15 an hour raise due to a new certification. I should make 35,000 hours by the end of this year, or worst case scenario next year. And by 2027, close to 45,000 an hour if all goes to plan. I'm planning on starting my Roth IRA, but keep delaying it. Next month, I turn 18 and finally start my 6% 401k match with my employer. I feel like I've checked most of the boxes that I wanted to as a young kid, and I'm not quite sure what the next move would be. I really want to try putting money into stocks and messing around with it if I want to guarantee myself a stress-free future earlier than later, but I feel super limited right now to what I can do. Any tips or info would be extremely helpful. Thank you all in advance. My apology for the lengthy post, but I want to make sure nothing important was left out. So you have a great head on your shoulders, I want to say. Not a lot of people are thinking the way you do, especially at your age. So I would say, the first component is I see you're trying to like dip into too many things at once. I think the first thing you need to do is really focus on like what it is you want to invest in. So if you want to do like stocks or something a little bit less maintenance, then I would recommend doing like ETFs that track the S&P 500, track the the Nasdaq, the top 100 companies, or you could even do other funds which are more unique, which are like called REITs, real estate investment trusts, which are more focused on like investing in rental properties, and then you get income from that. As the property itself for this rental income, then you get more money that way. There are also ETFs now that are very focused on like Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, which is another option. So I would recommend doing ETFs over singular stocks because usually these are a little less riskier than individual stocks. But, of course, with more risk, more return, but also, I don't know if, if you're more risk averse or if you do like to take more risk, but depending on like what your tolerance is, you may want to do individual stocks if you have a high risk tolerance, but if you don't, if you're more risk averse, then doing ETFs is a safe bet and usually has been in the long run producing great results overall. Now, in terms of the house payment, saving the $25,000 per year is a great start. Now, thinking about the house itself though, I would say depending on your situation, see if you have the ability to maybe invest in a multifamily home. I think a multifamily home is probably one of the better investments in my books. I've invested in like single family homes and those are great. But at the same time, I do see that multifamilies are even better because you have a lot more units to play with. And on top of that, you can even have a unit for yourself and you can live in it and also still reap the tax benefits of having a rental and having your own home. So overall, not a bad investment for yourself. So I think overall, I would start with like the house, which is the first thing, the multifamily. And then start investing in like ETFs and different other funds that you can invest in, and just start playing with it. Like maybe putting like $500 to $1,000 a month or whatever you can into it, or you could even start like with $100, $200 a month, whatever you feel comfortable with, and just start putting money into it and just seeing how it kind of tracks. But remember, track it like year over year. Don't freak out if something like goes down and then you're like, oh my gosh, I just lost like 20%. It happens. Things happen month over month, but annually, usually we've seen like the S&P 500, for example, which does 8 to 12%, and the Nasdaq actually is usually around 12 to 20% per year. So overall, lots of great funds out there for you to start with, and just start like building your funds. Because one thing I will say about real estate investing is that it is a lot more maintenance. You probably have to deal with tenants, you have to deal with property management, so it's a lot more labor intensive. And of course tax intensive as well. So overall, start picking your battles and try not to dip your feet into too many things. Now, in terms of like your 401k, you could, if you also want to do that, just max it out up to the match of the employer. So you actually have like someone, effectively that's free money in most cases. So, you can actually take that and then,
decide to actually use that also for investing in ETFs and other items. Alright, hopefully this helps, and wishing all the best in your investment journey. Alrighty, so that's going to be Finance with Anthony, episode 14. I hope everyone out there has a blessed day, and adios.
Keep doing what you're doing. You're doing an amazing job, and I'm wishing everyone out there all the best. All right, until next time, adios.